do now to start off with is we're going to start with the Lord's Prayer. So anyone would like to start with that? Just if you want to take the mic, and let someone would like to do that. We'll wait. I'm sure someone will come eventually.
I'll do it.
Hi, Christine.
Wait, what?
Oh, Lexi. Hi, Lexi. Yep. Okay, you can do it.
Hey. Okay, cool. O thou from whom the breath of life comes, who fills all realms of sound, light, and vibration. May your light be experienced in my utmost holiest. Your heavenly domain approaches. Let your will come true in the universe, all that vibrates, just as on earth that is material and dense. Give us wisdom, understanding, assistance for our daily need. Detach the fetters of faults that bind us, karma, like we let go of the guilt of others. Let us not be lost in superficial things, materialism, common temptation, but let us be freed from that what keeps us from our true purpose. From you comes the all-working will, the living strength to act, the song that beautifies all and renews itself from age to age. Sealed in trust, faith, and truth, I confirm with my entire being. Amen.
Brilliant. Thank you, Lexi. Okay, so let's go. 7 areas of life, which we've covered. So this was a word I had for the day, which I think goes perfectly with the magic flight. Those who wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength and arise with wings like eagles. They shall run and not grow weary. They shall walk and they shall not faint. That was a scripture which I found worked really, really well for me for a lot of my life. So it's really, I love the vision this gives, because the vision this gives me, or the metaphor, is of soaring into the air high and soaring way above everything that's going on with the masses, what's going on with the world, what's going on in people's lives around us, what my family's doing, what everyone's doing. And basically, yeah, just completely being in a whole new plane of existence, a quantum leap, and soaring in doing our path, our purpose, and leaving a legacy. And this is something that I really learned on the training over the weekend, which reminded me about, really, it's about leaving a legacy. And that's the biggest reason that we're here, is to do what we're meant to be doing, and to do it well, and to be successful in it. So what we've been covering is a dark night of the soul, and really matches perfectly with everything that's going on, what I learnt this weekend, what we're seeing. It's learning to balance things and seeing both sides. And one of the things, even with the whole last 2 years with COVID, with everything in the last 18 months, I keep reminding some people who just say it's just been so hard the last year or two. And I'm like, go back 2 years, back in time, go back to the beginning of 2019. I said, can you remember what you were doing then? They're like, yeah. I said, okay, was the world really as good as you think it was? And they stop and they go, actually, no, it was actually really shitty at that time. I was feeling down, I had this going on. And generally there's a big list. Normally within 2 minutes, people are very balanced. And Solomon, who was the wisest man who ever lived, said in Ecclesiastes that he said, pretty much words to the effect that in the last book he ever wrote before he passed on, he by that time was at the peak of his wisdom. He says pretty much that whenever you think things were better in the past, you're living in a delusion, is what he basically says. He said, you're not seeing the truth. Because he said things always seem, when you're going through a hard time, you over-elate that darkness and then think it was so good before. My father, his grandma, my nana's mum, she used to always say to my grandmother, oh, that last boyfriend you had was so much better than the current one. And it happened apparently 5 in a row before my Nana finally cottoned on to what was going on and just basically ignored her mum and ended up marrying the guy she really wanted to be with. So it's easy to go back and think things were better before than they really are. So the dark night of the soul is really just another illusion. It's just another way of seeing the world because your belief systems and your illusions are collapsing. And I love what I once heard a great teacher once say, but disillusionment just simply means you're no longer illusioned. So I'll say that again, being disillusioned means you're no longer illusioned. When a woman says, I'm so disillusioned with men, it just means they're no longer illusioned. They're seeing the truth about men. And I think many women are illusioned about men, and even the soulmate and the twin flame paradigm as an example, and equally with men. I'm so disillusioned with the church. It just means they were illusioned. They created a fantasy with the church. I'm so disillusioned and disappointed with the world right now. Again, it just means that they were illusioned with the world before. That's all it means. So the dark night of the soul is something that in a way you can collapse and move through pretty much today. And by the end of this webinar finishes, you could be another quantum leap of existence. That's the thing to realize today. And we've got 12 people on here, which is the ascension code number. So let's just kind of see what happens. And we've got the 13th Dark Night of the Soul class, which is the magic flight. And 13 is the number of miracles. Jesus was the 13th man, Elijah and Enoch. The Pissa Sophia and J.J. Hertak says it's the number 13. It's a number of magic, of miracles, of quantum release, and of basically moving in the power of the city or the rishi. So going through the hero's journey now, we're going into the return, which is now somewhere around here. So Campbell stages now, we're on the return and we're in the magic flight. So we've gone through the various stages of the ordinary world that we get called out of. We refuse the call, we get our help, we cross the threshold to get going, think it's going to get better, and end up right in the belly of a lovely little whale who joyfully receives us. We wonder what the fuck just happened. We end up on the road of trials to be tested, which again is really just a form of challenges. Something that John D. Martini said, I'm actually going to quote you what he said at the workshop. It was so good where I was taking notes where I could. And as soon as this finishes today, I'll be going straight back in there. But he basically says words to this effect here. And in fact, they're so good, I'm actually going to just quickly copy them onto a slide for you. And then I'll just, I was going to read them out, but let me just put them on a slide. And then I will. Okay, let's put it here. Okay, here we are. So if you don't structure stress the way you want it, you get stress you don't want. If you don't create conflict where you want it, you'll get conflict where you don't. If you don't select challenges up front that inspire you, you'll get challenges that don't. If you don't create pressures that inspire you, you get pressure that doesn't. And unexpected bills are a reminder that you don't have order in your finances. And you can just about contemplate on those all day. And especially the one in the middle there for me, that really hit home to me because, you know, many of you know the health challenges I've had on and off over the years. And it just hit me only probably the last 2 days that I don't really have any at the moment. Now, that's quite interesting. My health is actually really good. I'm just really not having issues in my health at all. But I realize why. It's because I'm selecting challenges up front. I'm not kind of living life hoping I don't get challenges in my health or in my life. I'm creating challenges where people around me going like, why would you do that to yourself? Like going down every day to the beach when it's freezing cold and diving in. And I have a rule. I don't give myself any chance to think about it, to feel the water. I just walk straight through the water and go in. And every day, the first half a minute to a minute is horrendous. But each day, but I'm getting used to it, mind you. But I'm noticing because of that, I'm doing things easier. I'm getting, with my Pilates now, I'm getting challenged and challenged and challenged. I'm actually even said to my, last week I'm doing exercises now, which elite AFL footballers do. which, because she trains elite football stars. And she even said to me, some of the stuff levels you're at now, you're actually at the same level as the elite players. I'm actually going to say to her, and I'm saying it with a gulp, I'm ready for some more challenges this week. And I've realized because I'm challenging my body and pushing it through, my back is really strong. I spent all my life attempting to put weight on because I always naturally was slim. The other day I weighed myself and I was like, what the heck? I'm like 83 kilos, which is like, 182 pounds. Now, I've never been that in my life. At first I thought, shit, am I getting fat? But when I went and had a look, I was like, no, I'm actually not. And in fact, I realized it's just pure muscle. And my Pilates instructor said, yeah, Warren, you should see your back. It's rippling with muscle at your back. Because you're doing really elite exercises with your shoulders and everything. So it may hit me, but challenges and really pushing yourself keeps challenges around you from coming to you. So these are great ones. I mean, who loves these statements? Who likes these kind of things? If you're not creating this stuff. Like, I'm creating so much conflict on Facebook right now. I'm just not having conflict in my life. But my Dr. Bill post, what you guys don't see, I get daily, I pretty much regularly get someone complain to me. Like, I even had a long-standing friend write to me, and I'm 6'2", Sheldon, but she wrote to me and said, please get rid of that stupid picture. I'm begging you, get rid of that now. On my face, and she wrote it on my public page. I always have a rule, I'll answer them once respectfully. And all I did was I respectfully answered back and said, it's my way of shit stirring. And she wrote back and said, no, this is creepy. Warren, you got to get rid of it. And all I wrote was, I said, I don't tell you how to run your Facebook page. I'd appreciate the same courtesy. I'll only tell you this once. Oh, next minute she sent me another message like, oh, you're getting precious, aren't you? Like, what, are you for real? I just instantly deleted and blocked her. Now, this is someone who's been friends with me, by the way, for probably 8 years and been a client of mine and done business with me. We've caught up a lot. Instantly dismissed them. And I do that. Every now and again, for certain days, I just go on Facebook and, someone is being annoying and I just deliberately delete them or tell them an idiot and I delete them and block them. And the funny thing is I find that since I've been like that, which went about everything I was taught and what I believed, what's quite interesting is I just don't have conflict in my life. I've been having like much more smooth flowing. When conflict does come up, I choose my conflict. If I think someone's an idiot, I say I'm not interested in conflict with you, you're out the door. I think every day I've either unfriended or dismissed someone from my life. I had another one get dismissed this morning from my life. So it's just, these are really good things to realize, especially what we're teaching today on the Magic Flight, on the challenges that one faces to actually do that. So so it's just some food for thought. If you're spending your life trying to have a happy life and not be challenged and have it easy and not have problems, you're actually living in a dream world. And you're bound for some disappointment and for some challenges. And I even had a friend say to me the other day, she said, I'm kind of, realizing now that this is not the right thing I'm looking for. And I realized my soulmate is coming any minute now. And I thought, you're about to have an absolute monster come your way. I have no doubt that if you and I speak in 6 months, you'll have an absolute monster of a guy who will be a complete and utter narcissist and who'll be horrendous to you. So, and I knew that straight away. I had a bit of a chuckle to myself because as Martini says in his Heart of Love, he says true love is actually balanced. He says you see the benefits and the drawbacks of who somebody is. So if you have someone you're infatuated with, in a period of time, you'll loathe that person or think they're horrendous because everyone has got their pros, their cons, their benefits and their drawbacks. Some of the things I see women write on Facebook or in columns about the kind of man they're looking for, I just shake my head and I'm thinking, you're heading for a narcissistic monster. That's what you're heading for. You'll get one because it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Like, I'm looking for a man who will be soft, who'll be sensitive, who'll be gentle, but yet be strong, be an alpha, be successful. He will do this and do this. And I'll say, you're going to end up with someone who is a complete narcissist and has probably got 6 other women you don't know about. And I'm pretty much right every time. So I absolutely love this stuff. It's, when you actually are real about things and truthful about stuff and truthful with yourself as to what you're wanting and stop, in a way, bullshitting ourselves, That's when we start to really succeed in our finances, in our relationship life. And one of the things I remember Martini said, and I actually heard in one course, for example, many men are completely not honest. He said most men are lying monogamists. They say they're monogamous, but they're not, for example. They have no interest in being monogamous, but they know that in society they won't be well received, they'll know their partner won't, so they just bullshit. And I think many women are the same. So the more honest you are, the more better you'll feel about yourself, and the more you'll attract around you what you're looking to get. And I love about the unexpected bills are a reminder that you don't have order in your finances. And at some stage, I'm going to be doing a course in the next month, teaching what he's taught me this weekend. It's just so good. I thought, screw this, I'm going to teach the young people. And if any adults happen to want to jump in, they can. But I'm going to mainly focus on young people. But the stability teaching on financial abundance and what will guarantee you to get wealth and get absolute abundance in your life is, it's brilliant. Like the way you cushion, the way you do things, the way you set challenges for yourself financially with your savings, with your investing, the way you do it. And yeah, Grace just made a great comment. It's like owning the what's called the poly side of you. And he says there's so many women, he says, that don't own what he calls the polyamorous side of them, which polyamorous means, for those who don't know, the multiple, like to have multiple energies. So he said, for example, a woman who's obsessed with monogamy is usually a very disempowered woman. It just means they're disempowered in their own sovereignty. So they're looking for a man who will actually, basically they want to make sure they hold on to what they've got. So he said, where someone who's very empowered tends to be more polyamorous. And it's quite fascinating. And he shows that with various teachings through history and things like that. So he just basically says, and both have their benefits and drawbacks. Whichever way you go, you're going to have drawbacks. Like he said, monogamy can be a pain in the ass when you just got one person who becomes a nuisance. Equally, he said, polyamorous after a while can get tiring. He said, celibacy can be great, but that can be really difficult. So he just goes through and says, everything has got its challenges and support, and you just got to decide what challenges you want for your life. That's all. Life is no, and he said morality was the other thing he shared, is actually man-made. Completely man-made. He said morality. He said it's all it is. He said it's just man-made code of conduct. Most of our current ego, Grace says, yeah, absolutely. In fact, if you actually study the current relationship model of for example, it comes from the Victorian era of English king's morality. 200 years ago, having, wives, mistresses, or women being tantric priestesses with multiple men was a lot more normal some time ago. Whereas the Western morality thing came in through the Queen Victoria era in England. That can be easily discovered from some historical teaching. Same with a lot of our current financial system when you go back and look over things. And really what we're doing right now, it's just come from a whole speculative era rather than a real wealth. So I love the unexpected bills are a reminder you don't have order in your finances. It's a way of reminding you to get yourself balanced and make sure that you're looking after yourself. One little thing I will say what he says is, he says, you should always be stretching yourself financially in a good way. He said, most people just increase their lifestyle as they make more money. Whereas he said, if you're actually challenging yourself gently and keep increasing your savings, your investing slowly, he said, you will over 10 years build significant wealth. And he was showing it with various people. So anyway, this is just some great principles of life to really think yourself today, what challenges you want to experience, because today is all about the challenges. So the road of trials, as we mentioned here, as you run the hero's journey, you will experience trials. It's just a question of choosing the kind of trials that you want to experience, as an example. So that's why James, he puts it beautifully. He says, count it joy, which many says, oh, what a silly scripture. No, it's actually a very intelligent scripture. Count it joy when you have trials. In other words, when you're getting challenged, it means your illusions are breaking down. It feels great. If you've got constant financial challenges, it means you've got a shitload of illusion about money. Like, you've really got to get your head out of your ass and start looking at what you're doing financially. It shows you're living in a delusion. You're living in a slightly self-entitled, narcissistic kind of way of being when it comes to money. That's all it shows. I remember the day when I realized that. It was a shock, but I started to change my life financially. It kind of means deep down you believe the world owes you a living. That's basically what was coming through. That's it. Rather than being like, how can I serve? Martini says, basically, he said, you get your wealth from serving. He goes, you go through every billionaire in the world, from Jeff Bezos with Amazon. He said, forget the labels of good, evil, or whatever, and some of the other stuff they're doing. Bill Gates, look at what they've served. He said, Bill Gates, you study what he did with computers, he said, changed the world. He said it actually did. He goes, he was the first guy that managed to get a system that actually was able to do the things that we're doing without cumbersome. He said, you look at Jeff Bezos with Amazon, you know, what's happening with that? And it was a real kind of like, wow, it's such a good different perspective. So he said, you just got to realize that wealth and success comes with actually serving and finding a way to really serve your gift to the world and receive good exchange for doing it. You know, really good reward for what you're doing and not have any guilt or shame about doing it. So this is why we went through tiers of consciousness before, and this is about a quantum leap to that next level today. We went through the meeting with the goddess, then the temptations, the feminine, the balancing of the energies, encountering the things that seek to distract you, the atonement with the Father, which is getting back on your path and getting back to the truth, your own truth. That resurrection day we spoke on about a month ago, the ultimate boon, which was the achievement, the goal of the quest, and actually find what you're looking for. And then last time, 2 weeks ago, before Steve spoke, we spoke on the refusal of return. And that's when you actually realized you're in a good place in your life and you just don't really want to go back to humanity and serve. And you generally will go through that. You'll go, I just don't want to do this. Simba was like that. The Lion King, once he grew up into a big lion, he just didn't want to go back and face Scar. He just wanted to live his normal life. Moses, he had run from Egypt. He'd been in prison and then he found his way in life. And when he was called back to Egypt to deliver the people, he fought with God for ages before he finally agreed to do it. Buddha was the same. He actually wanted to get enlightenment and escape humanity, and he spent his whole life aiming to get there. And when he finally got there and he's on the cusp of entering Samadhi, he felt compassion for people, seeing how lost people were, and decided to come back and serve for quite a bit longer. And that was where a lot of Buddha's teachings came from. And if Buddha hadn't done that, we never would have got many of his great teachings. But he actually did. He discovered the path to enlightenment and nirvana and was about to enter nirvana and basically ascend and move on. And he just made a decision to come back and serve because of his compassion for people. So that's what's called that refusal of the return initially, but then realizing that, hang on a sec, there's a greater reward if I do come back and serve. And we gave this example here, this king. So now with the magic flight, let's look at what we're talking about here. Is everyone following so far? Like, who's enjoying this? Who's really getting some, you know, good stuff out of this? Like I said, not quite what I plan to get into, but okay, great. People enjoying this. Okay, great. Okay. This is where the hero's journey may be marked by a chase. So the thing to realize that is that if you are commissioned for the task, you may not actually even have a chase. It may be quite smooth, your return. But if it's something you get to steal, and sometimes you do, and Peter Vissi, the astrologer, talks about the Rahu stealing the nectar of the gods. And if basically he's stolen it, the gods will pursue him to seek to regain the elixir that was actually stolen from him. So that's what this is all about here. So it's the whole stealing, the whole, you know, thing like that. So it can be quite a challenge depending on if that happens or whatever else. So if you actually realize, for example, that that you've actually stolen it, which effectively means sometimes you've got to fight for something and you win a special gift. And then you can often go through all kinds of challenges to actually basically hold on to what you've got, because deep down there's all that stuff going on. So the 13 symbolizes magic or miraculous. And as I said, Jesus was the 13th man. You had, say, Jacob and the 12 sons of Israel. So Israel was the 13th man, the miraculous people. So the 12 inevitably moves into the 13. That's the whole point. So this is what Campbell says. If the hero in his triumph wins the blessing of the goddess or the god, and is explicitly commissioned to return to the world with some elixir for the restoration of society, the final stage of his adventure is supported by all the powers of his supernatural patron. On the other hand, if it's been attained against the opposition of its guardian, and some things do have guardians, finances. Some, I know for me, I discovered that actually wealth and abundance, there actually is a guardian. There actually is a financial guardian or a financial energy. For if the hero's wish to return to the world has been resented by the gods or demons, the last stage of the mythological realm becomes a lively, often comical pursuit. This fight may be complicated by marvels of magical obstruction and evasion. So, an example here was the original shaman in A Tale from Siberia is said to have had the power to bring souls back from the dead. So the high god decides to challenge him by getting hold of the soul of a man, putting it in a bottle and hiding the opening of the bottle with his thumb. The man became sick and his family sought out Morgan Kara to help heal him. Morgan Kara sees eventually that the god of heaven is holding the man's whole hostage. Morgan Kara then transforms into a wasp and stings the high god, causing the latter to jerk and move his thumb from the bottle's opening, freeing the captive's soul. Angry at this ruse, the high god splits the shaman's drums, limiting his power forever. So, very interesting. So, the whole point here with the magic flight is actually, yeah, this whole thing of actually looking to steal, looking to get this kind of stuff, and then knowing that sometimes in your path, there's going to be this resistance or there's going to be this. I personally have come to the point over the last week, and I remember reading this in the Keys of Enoch, and I went through that again last night, or actually the night before, to find it, and I found it again. In the Keys of Enoch, there's an amazing section where there's a clear statement that the Council of Nine, which is actually written, actually says the Council of Nine told him that they will only include in the new fifth dimensional earth those souls that have purified and perfected themselves in this lifetime and are ready. So this, and pretty much said this whole zone is a biochemical testing zone with a realm of what's called fallen souls to stretch out and bring out the souls that are eligible for transformation and that can actually grow and evolve, and the ones that can't will be discarded. Now, isn't that weird? And isn't that quite crazy? Because that's exactly what the Bible teaches, what the Buddhist teaches, what the Hindus teach. They all teach the same thing. They all talk about this life as kind of like not so much heaven and hell, but yeah, I mean, the Catholics talked about heaven and hell. The Christian church talked about it like, you know, going into Hades. You've got the Buddhists talking about the lower astral dungeons, and the Hindus something very similar. But basically, in the Keys of Enoch, it also talked about how in the fourth seal of Revelation, in Revelation 6, about when that got opened and there was death, it talked about death and Hades following them. And Hertak explains that many of the souls that have consistently lifetime after lifetime been stubborn and refused to purify and transform and evolve, he said, have to be put into the lower astral dungeons for a time so that they can not trouble humanity and not be a problem, and they can go through their lessons for eons and many, many lifetimes before they can come out and be, you know, used again. But it's actually this teaching across multiple religions about discarded souls. In other words, souls that just don't evolve and have really no use. And the Bible talks about this. So there's a little bit of a sobering thing in that there, that we actually are in a testing zone. And I've been seeing this more and more, that really this whole time at the moment is a opportunity for what I call a fast track ascension to become part of a higher earth that's been created and ready for another, almost I see batch of souls. I just get this feeling, and I've got some teachings and theology to back me off, but some of it is just my feeling from what I've seen and from what I've read in Annalise Scarron's various writings from what she saw. I have a feeling that as we move to that next stage of evolution, we'll be meeting many other souls that'll be like-minded, having the most incredible talk, laughing about it, going like, wow, you know, they'll be saying, yep, we went through that same experience. We moved into this higher fellowship. Great to see you here too. And you'll see all the other souls fighting it out, grappling it out, like in a bit of a Hades type environment in these lower dimensions of Earth, and some going through all these same delusions over and over again, and reincarnating and giving birth and dying and giving born and being dying and recreating and recreating and recreating and recreating. And then some of the worst ones, then after a while, having many chances get discarded, they get dropped down into a deeper, lower astral dungeon to go through their own torments, basically, which they're manifesting. That's more and more I'm seeing it that way. So it just tells me more than ever that this is really about our ascension growth. And the truth is that not a lot of souls are going to come through into this next batch of ascension before the whole, 26,000 astrological year cycle starts again. That's how I'm starting to see it more and more. So it really is. It's just moving beyond that time warp that I see that many of us are caught in. So the magic flight means when you start to realize these things, the archons, the demons, the spirits that are kind of here, that have been given permission to test, in fact, I'll leave it here, are going to test you. And they're just going to keep doing it and keep testing you. So the archons and the demons, once they realize you know the truth, will start to test you. In the ancient scroll of Jubilees, which is which was a very revered book that was used as part of the ancient Jewish or Hebrew text to write the scriptures, the book of Jubilees goes through at one stage all the various Jubilees and 50-year cycles and 100-year cycles and reset periods. And one of the things they actually say in there was when, after the whole flood, and when the demons, when the angels had fallen and come and had sex with the women, created these hybrid beings and had been these grotesque experiments, the angels asked the Father, what the heck do we do with these guys, these demons? Because they were in prison at the time. And the Father clearly said, let them out so that they can do their work for now, which is to test mankind and stretch people to stretch out their lives, their karma, and help them get ready for the day of judgment and prove who's worthy for the next stage of evolution. Words to that effect. So understand, sometimes when we think we're fighting something, we're actually fighting against God. Because sometimes, the Father appears as a lion. He appears in the ruse of the dark. And we can see this even in Psalm 18 as an example. And sometimes the Father can be a trickster. And Grace, I know you know exactly what I mean. It can appear to be the dark, but it's actually not the dark. It's quite the opposite. And you will see this in Psalm 18, where the Father says in verses 25 to 26, he says, with the merciful, you will show yourself to be merciful. So in other words, if you're kind and you're merciful, you will receive mercy from the higher laws, from the Father and the Mother. If you're an upright man, you will show yourself to be completely and utterly upright. If you're pure, you will show yourself to be completely pure. And if you're froward or perverse, you will show yourself to be froward or perverse. In other words, if you are a perverse, kind of self-centered, narcissistic dick of an individual who, by and large, is completely consumed in your own ego, that's how the Father will appear to you. In other words, he will show himself and reveal himself to you, and the Divine Mother, I might add, in the same way, because when you read Proverbs 1 and Proverbs 8, you cannot escape that conclusion. Even the Divine Mother, who appears to be so kind and so much love, her love can sometimes be shown as an absolute tyrant bitch. And there is that dark side of the mother, and you'll see that in Proverbs 1. Proverbs 1 actually says that even more than the Father, the actual Divine Mother, let's actually go and have a squeeze at it. If you go to Proverbs 1, you'll also see what I call the dark side of the Divine Mother, where she actually says, how long, you simple ones, will you love simplicity? In other words, how long will you continue to actually ignore the higher wisdom that we're trying to give to you? And verse 23 says, I will pour out my spirit and make my words known. Listen to my reproof. Now, what is the reproof of the Divine Mother and the Father? Answer is the challenges that you're experiencing in your life right now. So if you're experiencing relationship challenges, that's the Divine Mother and the Divine Father giving you a bit of a wake-up call. If you're experiencing financial challenges, you're getting a wake-up call. If you're experiencing health challenges, that's a wake-up call that you're just not following the laws of the body, the mind, and the spirit. You're not balancing yourself. If you're experiencing a challenge in your just in your work, in your service to the world. Again, you're just getting a reproof. And some challenges, yes, if you've chosen the challenge and expect the challenge, that's fine. But if you're kind of fighting against challenges or unexpected challenges are coming your way, that generally means that you're not choosing your challenges and you're trying to live in an illusion where everything will just flow the way you want it. In other words, live a more narcissistic way of lifetime. So the Divine Mother then goes on to say, because you basically not listened to me in verse 24, in other words, you're ignoring the signs I'm trying to give you, you're ignoring those wake-up calls, like those spasms in your body or those little things or small little things, suddenly you're going to get calamity. And that's why suddenly many people suddenly unexpectedly have a car accident where they almost die. Or like Miko, you get an arrow shot at you, or you get a financial collapse, like you wake up and investments you've all gone, and just like that. You suddenly get an unexpected health issue. Suddenly you find out your partner's cheating on you or whatever, or you just suddenly everything in your life falls apart with your business. Suddenly clients start complaining about you. Like you start to hit this calamity because you've been ignoring the signs, you know? You've just been ignoring them and ignoring them and ignoring them and ignoring them. He talked about a guy yesterday on the webinar, Martini, who had $750 million net worth as a hedge fund guy and overnight lost a whole lot. His business partner stole everything in the night. When he woke up and he had no money, he went in to buy coffee for the morning and his credit card bounced. And he, of course, you can imagine that when he was at Martini's seminar, he was pretty charged about the whole thing. Within half an hour, he was very humbled and crying and saying how it had actually changed his life. It set him free. He said, set him free from a horrible wife who walked down on him. There was just a whole lot of things that happened as a result of that. He said he'd been doing dodgy things. He would have gone to prison, but his business partner instead was being chased for prison and he was left alone because he lost the money. So, but they got this thing here. I also will laugh at your calamity. I will mock when your fear comes. In other words, the calamity, the Divine Mother has that dark side of them too. So this is why the scriptures say the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. And really another way of looking at that is the respect and soberness of divine consequences for not listening to the little signs. You start to become very aware of these signs and these warnings, and you take them seriously with a very humble heart and a sense of nervousness, but tells you that you're just not listening to a message. And you want to make it right, quick, smart, with the higher councils or with Almighty God. So there's all this kind of stuff that's doing things like that whatsoever. So there's all kinds of things that happen in this thing, like on the magic flight. And sometimes, in fact, on this, yeah, Miko, what am I being warned about? Well, that's really what you're going to have to work out, Miko. I remember when I hit my car against that lamppost and almost died, I was in so much shock. But because I knew these laws, I was more scared and thinking, what was I not listening to? Shit. And I remember going and spending 3 days just really pondering it all through. And I actually realized I'd really started to go away from my path. I was ignoring a clear message I was told. I was told a certain situation I was meant to stay in it. I've been trying to get out of it. And I'd actually made a decision as I was driving my car. I no longer cared what was going on. I wasn't going to stay in the situation. I was going to walk away from it. And that accident gave me perspective. It gave the person in my life at that time who I was going to cut off from my life, she changed towards me, and we ended up working through that for that time and then learning the lessons we were both meant to learn. You know, there was, I got my perspective back with my life. I realized I'd become so consumed with a business collapse, with my narcissism, with various stuff, and I'd stopped listening to the messages that were being given to me. And so generally things like that happen. Another time when it's happened to me, when I almost had a car crash and almost died, and I lost a whole lot of money at the same time, I realized I'd been starting to get into stuff that was not against my path, that was dangerous. And I was on the verge of seriously considering getting involved in something, but although I didn't see it that way at the time, I realized technically it was swindling. And that crash saved me from doing that thing. So just understanding that these things come our way are designed to help us grow and help us become closer to the Divine Father and Mother and get back to truthfulness about life and not living in a delusion. So this is what it says. Sometimes during the magic flight, the hero needs aid to get home. In other words, we get stuck in our illusions on the way home. We get cornered and we get trapped. So sometimes it says here that you maybe find the obstacles too overwhelming and challenging, get stuck or lost. And I can't think of any more. Probably the best example I can think of in my case, which I can give you with my own story, was the Council of Nine. I'd been shown my path. I'd been on my journey, but I got lost. I did. I really lost way. And an outside intervention from the Council of Nine got me back on track and reminded me of everything I've been shown as a kid, and then a whole lot more on top of that. So often we do get it, and it may happen from a direct encounter with an angel or guide. It can from a spiritual teacher or guru. I was saying to Grace, I said, the reason why I can see people just don't grow is we've lost our connection with what I call, even with understanding the way divine order works. I mean, so many people live with such a disrespect for their spiritual teachers. It just blows my mind. It really does. It's something that I learned early on. Right now, I work closely with Yvonne, as some of you know. And it's interesting because I've just chosen to do certain things with her, like tithe to her of my own free will and do other stuff to honor her. And the other day she said to me, I'm only doing codes for you now, actually, because she said, you know, and I find that I'm really growing from doing it. But there's just a lot of disrespect I'm finding for people with their teachers. In other words, really just a lack of honesty or lack of what I call commitment or working within them. And so, and spiritual teachers can also be a way to help you from getting lost. Yogananda openly used to talk about how he would go off track, and Yeketswa, his guru or his teacher, would guide him and would get him back on his track and would help him to reconnect once again and, and reconnect again with his path. And a number of times that Yeketswa, got Yogananda back on track, or Babaji helped Lahiri Mahasaya when he got caught up in the illusion of wealth. And at one stage he started to get caught up with it. And Babaji helped him to see the illusion. And he actually, once he released that illusion, Babaji said, well done. He said, every lifetime you've been up to now, there's always been the one thing that stopped you from ascending or completing your path on this earth. He said, now that you've ascended it, now we can get on the real spirituality. And that was when Lahiri Mahasaya started to go on steroids, went to the next level. So the magic flight is all about the obstacles hit you, and sometimes you need that supernatural help. And that's why the wings like an eagle is a great metaphor, something to take you and propel you through your illusions. In a way that kind of happened to me yesterday, I have a feeling, for me. Looking at it now, I didn't see it that way at the time. I was just a little bit getting trapped in a little bit of an illusion about some things, more just in the sense of a fear and giving too much attention to a fear or belief around myself of hiding myself rather than allowing myself to really shine and feeling a guilt around it. And I actually realized in my case, it was different. I actually was on the right path, but I was holding myself back through a fear and a deep subconscious feel that wasn't actually really real. And so what was so interesting with my collapse process was all the different kind of obstacles I was throwing up, like at John D. Martini, like, oh, it must be my distractions, like a guilt around that, or must be something around this, or something around that. They were just illusions. They weren't actually blooming true. So the Eskimos tell the story of Raven. It talks about here. And this is a good example of someone who decided to steal an elixir. Because he's impatient for more, he rips up a piece of the tube of a whale and he kills this whale basically to get the thing he's looking for, which is this elixir of life. And it says here that the whale washed ashore where the villagers carved up pieces to take home as fuel and food, freeing Raven from his captivity in the beast. Raven then uses fire sticks to force his way out of the whale, a symbol of rebirth. When they find the fire sticks he's left behind, Raven tricked them and believed that the fire sticks are a deadly omen. So they fled, and then Raven ate the whole whale. So it's kind of like this magic flight. And so generally, this is exactly what happened with Jacob, by the way. Jacob and Esau, Jacob stole Esau's birthright from him. He did. And it's really important to contemplate this, because in stealing his birthright, the scriptures clearly says that this was of the Lord, because the Lord had always wanted to give it to Jacob rather than Esau. Now, it's kind of an extraordinary thing that but it actually says that this was of the Lord. Now, in other words, the father had allowed this to happen because it says, I hated Esau and I loved Jacob at birth. Now, this just seems completely utterly bizarre, but well, yeah, no doubt that the father saw Esau for who he was and the soul that he created, and he saw Jacob for who he was, and knew which one was the more pure of soul and the one he wanted to give this to. And those of you who are parents, you'll know what I mean. You know, you'll always love your kids, but you may see certain things in some of your kids, but not in other kids. You know, like one of my sons has got a tremendous ability I can see with business, a natural ability with business. You know, William, as you can see, is naturally got that ability as a spiritual teacher and things like that. So what can sometimes appear as favoritism is more just higher wisdom that you're actually doing. So Jacob I loved, Esau I hated. So it can change even your perspective of these things. Now, Jacob eventually had to go through his karmic balancing with the fact he'd been a thief. And that's in a way what this is teaching here, that it can collapse the guilt if you've done that in a way in your life. If you've stolen something that you know, like, I've kind of done that when really you know, like some things we get in life, we really have got because we were supernaturally called. Like I know with the counsel of mine, I did this. Some things we get because in a way we swindle or trick or manipulate or force our way to get it. And then later on we feel bad about it. Whereas really this is saying that that can be just as much part of your path, but then you're going to have your challenges facing you as those who you've stolen it from will fight you to get it back. I know with finances, I've experienced that by contrast to my spiritual path. My spiritual path, I've had absolute supernatural assistance from day one, really. I've been helped back on the path. It's always been fairly smooth for me by and large when I really look back. Financially, it was anything but that. Now, admittedly, there was karmic reasons, but I've noticed for me to step up to that financial abundance in business, I've had many demons and challenges and had to do a magic flight. And one of the reasons for that I can actually see is that's the kind of thing I'd done in past lives. I'd swindled, you know, to get money. I had actually done that so severely that I discovered that Saint Germain, who's I've discovered is the patron saint or spirit of finances, you know, being. So generally he has a lot to do with accumulation of wealth on earth, Saint Germain. And Saint Germain refused to talk to me when I first was connecting with the angelic councils. Now, I was so surprised. I kept saying, why won't Saint Germain talk to me? And the councils actually told me he's really pissed with you. And I was like, huh? Why is he pissed with me? And then he told me why. They said, your past lives with the swindling that you've been shown, you actually swindled his own accountant as well as some others. His people got caught up. He said, you and him incarnated at the same time to help awaken Europe and free them from the Rothschilds. You not only did you not do your path, but you actually went against what he was doing and trying to help awaken people, and you swindled Saint Germain's accountant. So he's not particularly wrapped with you. And of course, I was like, shit. So I had to actually make that right and make a certain offering and make some donations and things like that and cleanse my karma. And then I found Saint Germain was willing to work with me. But he put me through a bit of a penance. Now, this might sound weird, but my sense is some of you may get it. And the penance was more just, you know, you're going to have to now, you know, you're going to have to really show by service that you're worthy and by your actions, which I did. And now I've noticed he's starting to trust me and open up wealth and attract it to me more and more than ever before. But the whole point is that we can go through this path where some things in life just flow, but some things are anything but smooth, you know, anything but smooth. And so here's some examples that we see in movies. Like, I don't know if any of you have seen Lord of the Rings. I know Grace, Stephanie has, and William, but you may remember at the end of the movie, once they did the hero's journey and Frodo managed to destroy the ring of Sauron, the Dark Ring, and complete the impossible quest, he was exhausted. And this often happens. Sometimes I was exhausted by the time the Council of Nine had come to me. I was ready to leave this earth. I was out of energy. I tried everything. So I needed supernatural help. In this movie, you may remember Frodo had his finger bitten off. Sam, they were exhausted. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't escape from this lava. They were going to die. So eagles came flying with Gandalf and freed them, picked them up and carried them home back to their homeland. So the magic flight is in a way that absolute acceleration. It's like where you've hit that point where you just can't go any further. And then a supernatural guidance or beings or energy or events has come your way out of the blue that just changes everything in a hurry. And I know some of you have experienced that. You know, I know that William, it happened to William about 2 or 3 years ago when he had that experience where his third eye was open. I know Lexi told me the story when she was 22 and she had that experience that just was like a propulsion, you know, and others of you have told a similar story that you just get that moment where you get this sudden awakening, which just changes things. So Frodo and Sam were rescued by that. So this is like, if you're finding at the moment in your life with some trials, or you just seem like you're trying to move forward in life but keep hitting more, there's just a good chance that that's what's going on. You're having things that are resisting you, so to speak, because you've kind of got something, you've grabbed something, you've got some things to deal with, and you just need some supernatural help and some guidance from the masters, from the eagle, so to speak, to accelerate you through your illusions, through the lava of life, and as Isaiah says, flow with wings like eagles. So another very good example was King David. King David, when he actually finally saw King Saul, his nemesis, die, and he went to go back and take his kingdom, which he'd been promised, he had all kinds of illusions he had to face. So first, when he defeated Goliath, he then had to run into the mountains. He had to escape for a while. His nemesis then died. But it took him 7 years of actually fighting basically his fellow Israelites, who are still in the belief of the old way of thinking, to actually finally take his kingdom. So the trials and conquests we face to bring our victories or whatever else, David again needed supernatural help. And over again, you see that, like over and over again, David was given divine miraculous intervention. It said that with the US Revolution in the 1776 to 82, in the war for independence for America, that Washington was greatly outnumbered with his troops. But you actually read his diaries, I think there was, I can't remember how many times, that countless times the British had actually surrounded them as an ambush and were ready to them. They had no idea what had happened. And then angels would warn Washington in the night, in a dream, and tell him, don't go forward, you've got to go around the side because there's an army waiting for you. You know, things like that. So it's that supernatural help is going to help you through these trials and challenges and help you toughen up, get stronger, and just get better in life and things like that. So Moses had the same thing as well. He had a resistance in going back. After resisting the return, once he agreed to go back on the return, Moses immediately had challenges. The children of Israel were absolutely fighting against him. The forces of Pharaoh were fighting against him. The dark forces were resisting everything he was saying. Like, who are you to say you've come from God? Who are you, Moses, to say you've got any credibility whatsoever to teach us whatsoever? I can tell you, I've had those same demons I've actually faced myself. So no, actually I've realized that the one challenge I've definitely faced with being a spiritual teacher is those voices, those demons. Like, who are you, Warren? Why would people listen to you? You know, you're just an accountant. You're just a lawyer, financial guy. You're not a spiritual teacher. Why would people listen to you? You know, why do you have anything of value to give people? And and I had such a low opinion of myself. That was why that Council of Nine experience commissioned me and my many supernatural experiences to show me and prove to me that I was worthy of being a teacher. And also, as Moses was told, to show others also that what you're saying is backed up by your power that you've got. So you've got credibility, you've got authority, you've got spiritual gifts. And the truth is, if you don't have spiritual authority and people aren't listening to you, you don't have anything. If you say I'm a spiritual teacher and I'm a leader, for example, but you've got no followers, you're nothing. You're living in an illusion. If you say I'm a financial king or queen and you don't have a lot of money, you're actually lying to yourself and everyone around you. So the magic flight is also part of collapsing those challenges, so to speak, that you're seeing around you and getting back to truth and really getting back to the fact that if I'm going to go to that next level, I definitely need help. I definitely need that supernatural help and assistance from the masters, but also from enlightened people on earth to guide me. Why did I invest in John D. Martini's course? Because I knew that I had a financial consciousness next level shift to do, which I knew that regardless of whether I heard much of his course, just the fact that I'd invested in that course meant I would be downloaded that knowledge. That's one secret I've learned. I didn't actually have to attend to his course. I've actually invested in courses and not even attended the courses. I've done it deliberately because I'm activating myself by tithing to that person to invest in them to awaken those things in me. So I invested in this course to actually awaken those things in me and claim those rights. And then I just happened to turn up because I just felt, well, I may as well listen in because I'm not doing anything. And then, of course, I got that shift. And it's going today, so I'm in and out of the course, but I feel I've got the main thing that I was looking for in that course at this time. So that was my supernatural help from someone like Martini. I invested with Yvonne because I know that there's certain next level spiritual stuff for ascension consciousness work that I definitely need to do my work. And there's always there's people on earth or gurus or teachers or leaders that are enlightened in their field. I invest in my Pilates instructor, for example, because she is a guru in her field. She's helped me with my body get strong. And so often, though, we get into illusions because if I then judge my Pilates teachers on other areas of my life, I would miss the point. Her business is not particularly well run, which she admits. She's really different in her thinking with me on the whole vaccines and everything. She's all for it. She's all for masking up people. She can't believe why people wouldn't go ahead and get it because COVID's so dangerous. You know, we couldn't be more opposite. So I could, for example, say to myself, oh, look, I can't see her. She's unawakened. But she actually is awakened in Pilates. She's the best, Pilates body worker I've ever done. I told someone the other week, I said that to this day, in all the years I've been doing gyms, exercises, rehab work, she's still to this day, she understands my body better than anyone else. She knows exactly how far to push me and when to stop. So Yvonne, there's so many areas of her life I can see is just not working. But all I know that when it comes to the consciousness, the Tantra teaching, the code, she's incredible. Grace would openly tell you about herself. Grace is remarkable in some areas of her life and absolutely hopeless in other areas of her life. I'm the same with some areas of my life. I'm a great example for you. Some areas of my life, I'm probably a terrible example for you. And I'm the last person you should follow. And this is why part of this whole journey is collapsing our illusions about people and about each other and getting back to that, what I call core truth. So Moses with the burning bush was able to realize his resistances and go through his path and accept these challenges without expecting a illusion. I'm under no illusions with my path right now as a teacher. I know there's a lot of work to go. I know that we're a long way in the Western world from even having any kind of awakening. Many say we're awakening right now. I don't believe it myself. I think parts of society are awakening, but by and large, we haven't really awakened as a society at all. If anything, we've got a bit more dense. And I think that right now it's more segments or portions are awakening. I know there's still a lot to go to convince or awaken people to what's going on in the world and what needs to happen to be empowered. And I agree, Lexi, a false awakening, false light. I personally think it's going to take a mark of the beast, microchip, false messiah to rise up before really a lot of people awaken. I think there'll be segments that will awaken, like the scripture suggests maybe 144,000 and maybe another group of people that will awaken and, go through ascension and be fifth dimensional ready. But I think the bulk of humanity won't actually wake up till they see microchips coming in right in front of them, until they see a false messiah coming up. And even then, many of them are going to believe in the false messiah, all of the Antichrist, who will lead probably from Europe or somewhere like that. They'll believe in him from all of their heart. But then by and large, they'll believe in him until they realize it's too late. And then they'll have to stand firm to the end. So just realize that the main thing is that all these are just obstacles and illusions that are there. And as we transcend them, we then help others to transcend. And we can help people better from the other side of the abyss than being in the abyss trying to get them out. That's the big thing to remember. You have more use being at the top, putting a rope down, helping to pull people out, than you are being in the abyss trying to carry people out and being a rescuer. So the magic flight is really about that supernatural help. And so if today you're finding it hard to negotiate a challenge, don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask out in your heart right now to the masters, to the councils, and say thank you for the help that I'm getting today. Thank you for the magic flight, and just get a vision of wings like eagles surrounding you and coming underneath you like Frodo and Sam, which are just supporting you directly underneath you, and just get a really strong sense of these eagles just carrying you right now and lifting you and soaring you above the lava, above the shenanigans on planet Earth, above the denseness, and moving you through to the next stage where you're ready for it. And then just know that what this will mean is that you'll be given an action item to do. And it could be small. It could just be, as soon as you've done this, go, oh, actually, yeah, I've got to go and do some more training around finances. Okay, I've got to do some work around this. Okay, I can see what my health is going on because of this. You know, I can see that I'm, you know, too caught up with an illusion about health and kind of caught up with that. I've realized that I'm trying to avoid conflicts with my body. Oh, yeah, I can realize I'm caught up with a soulmate illusion. Oh, I can see I'm caught up with basically a polyamory illusion rather than just enjoying being settled in what I've got right now. It's whatever that illusion will be, and then to think of an action item and to take the action item and to do it. So yeah, so it's really good. And there's so much right now that we're doing. So really think about that right now. So really, 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 really think about it. Just kind of give it some thought to yourself right now. And just take those action items. And as you're doing that, the last thing I'll mention before we go through this reflection is Buddha. He's another one who had to experience those various demons and challenges. And his journey towards enlightenment, he had various challenges. He went through various things. Jesus had to experience Satan in the wilderness. And once they moved beyond and saw them for the illusions that they were, he moved into enlightenment. I can remember years ago, I had this dream, and in the dream, I thought I was entering enlightenment, but then I got absolutely hit by this horrendous challenge in my life that came my way. And I saw Satan coming towards me in my dream, and I was terrified, but I stood my ground. As I stood my ground, I realized he was an illusion. Straight away, everything dissolved, and I was in this amazing theater with hundreds and thousands of people, and people I'd known from my past, present, and future. And I was teaching them higher truths, and they were all listening to me. And that was one of the things I remember going, wow, and I came out of that and realized a lot of the fights that I was doing was just really all just illusions and tricks. So once Buddha realized that, that was when he started to move into enlightenment, when he realized that everything, pain, pleasure, all that kind of stuff is just really one big illusion. So really what I'm going to get everyone to do today now is just to think about the lessons that you've learned today and really contemplate it. Like really think where you need a magic flight right now. Like where do you need some kind of or desire or looking for support? And think of one of the 7 areas of those lives you know right now, but definitely your fruit of your life is showing illusion. If you're constantly having health challenges of all kinds or accidents happening you didn't expect, it means you're living in some kind of delusion or some illusion of some kind. And you may require some help to see through that illusion. If you're having financial challenges over and over again that just don't seem to shift, just ask yourself, where am I not serving? What's the illusion that I'm not seeing that for me to shift today? What's the thing I'm not owning and being truthful about myself right now? You know, what am I not being really truthful with myself? What is the thing that I would really just, you know, love to do that would be so truthful if I did it for me? And one example I actually will give you. It's kind of an extraordinary one, but I have a friend, and Grace knows who this is. She's a mutual friend of ours. But basically, she was involved in the church, very spiritual, very religious, married, and she ended up being really truthful with herself, but she decided, you know what, if I'm really truthful with myself, she said, I don't really want to go get a normal job and I don't do anything else. I just want to be a high-priced, you know, I enjoy sex so much, I want to do more of it. So she actually made a lot of money and got herself set up financially doing escort work for a while. Now, again, our morality might be shocked with that. But remember, morality is just what people make up. There's an old saying that prostitution is the oldest profession in history. John D. Martini openly says in his workshops, and Grace, you've heard him do this, he'll say, everyone here is a prostitute and I'll prove it to you. And one by one, he said, anyone want to challenge me on it? Within minutes, he's proven to them. In other words, prostitution is basically giving sexual energy in exchange for money. That's all it is. So he says, once you own that side of yourself, he said, and collapse that illusion, he says, you know, then he says it changes things. Now, he doesn't go around doing that himself, obviously. The whole point is we live in a lot of moral illusions and moral bullshit about our lives. You know, we do. So this is a day to kind of think, where do I have illusions in my life? And your fruit of your life in an area will tell you. Constant health problems, financial problems, relationship problems with men. Health problems with the government, problems with people, family problems in your life, just anything. I mean, one of my things that also happened yesterday with John D. Martini, which will make everyone laugh, and this was an example of being truthful with myself, but was so powerful. As you can imagine, in family, everyone's about loving your kids and doing all that kind of stuff and being a good father. And I always just said to my boys, I didn't want to get involved in parents' nights and all that. And Grace was the same. But what was probably the funniest part of yesterday, and keep in mind, D. Martini's webinars are very serious. I mean, he hardly laughs and hardly anyone does. But when he was challenging me on the business and we were going through everything, he said to me, he goes, okay, Warren, let's just say that someone's kidnapped your kids and said, if you don't make like $5 million in the next 3 months, you know, he said, you'll never see them again. And I kind of went a bit red. And I said, well, I have to be truthful with you. That wouldn't inspire me, because I said, you know, if someone did that to me, I would just let go of them anyway. And I already have. And I'd be like, well, I'd energetically collapse it. And I'd just say, well, you know, I can't do anything about it anyway. They'll come back when they're meant to. And he started to laugh, and everyone on the webinar pissed himself laughing. And it sounds terrible. It's the truth. And he just couldn't stop laughing. He goes, okay, Warren. He goes, so obviously taking your kids won't inspire you. So we got to use a different example. And he said, whereas Grace, that would motivate her for sure. I have no doubt with Grace, she would make 5 million in 2 days. You know, whereas for me, that just didn't do a thing for me. But what he said, what would motivate you? And I just said, well, I know what would motivate me straight away. I said, if I was told, if you don't make 5 million in the next 3 months, you're going to be locked up in a room for a year, which you can't get out of. I said, oh no. I said, I would go like nuts. And then he said, so what would you do? And I gave him a list of actions. He goes, good. So that shows you the actions you got to take in your life right now to move forward. So in a way, you could ask yourself that question. Like, if someone, like the one thing in your life you would hate to happen to you, what actions would you take today if that happened to you? And for some of you, it might be that. Like, let's say, for example, Lexi, you were told that in 3 months from now, you're going to be locked in a room, which you can't get out of for 18 months if you don't make $1 million in the next 3 months, you know? And I know for you, Lexi, that would just be like the worst thing possible, you know? And you'd have nothing to do, just have to sit in a dark room all day for 3 months, you know, or for 18 months. And just have your food handed to you and be under someone's control with no freedom in your life. Like, what would you do differently now? What actions would you take? And think about it, you know? And am I right, Lexi? Would that motivate you if you knew that? Type it in the chat or whatever. Yeah. Lexi, yep. You'd figure it out, yeah, but you would move quickly. Grace, well, that wouldn't bother me. 12 months of meditation, yeah. So but the kids would bother you, Grace. That would get you moving. I know that. If you heard that your kids, that would get you moving. So yeah, absolutely. So every one of you's got something that would motivate you today. So it's just a case of having a look with the magic flight, the area of your life, the one area you know you need the fastest shift right now and need that supernatural help, and you're looking for that. And what actions you can take today that would get started and invoke supernatural support. And just feel free to type in the text chat or even take the mic if you want to, and just share what it is. Like, share in the chat what the one area of your life is you know you require that quantum leap today, and even what action you're going to take. Or if you don't have to take the actions in the chat, you can just share the area of your life. And if you want to take the mic and share, that'd be great. Okay, anyone? Okay. Yeah, we're still going, Miko. So you guys writing, are you not writing anything, Miko? Well, you're not actually, no, you didn't hear the question. Health for Sheldon? Yep. So that's something, Sheldon, that, yeah, what things you would, do you know your action items yet on what you're going to do or what changes you're going to make? One thing I've learned with health now is creating challenges for yourself. Like my challenge is just, yeah, my diet. It's been my doing exercises, that kind of stuff. I always had this belief about myself, for example, Sheldon, but I had a naturally weak body and skinny body. That was what I believed about myself. And interestingly, I'm the highest weight I've ever been in my life. And I've tried so hard for years to get muscle and weight. And I'm not even trying anymore. I've given up. And I actually weighed myself and I'm actually like, yeah, the highest I've been. So has everyone got some clarity? Just type what the area is or why or whatever else. Lexi, my greatest lesson being thankful for my awareness when you mentioned biochemical warfare, how we are qualifying a moral energy. My actions get more serious, merging with my oversoul and being the other side. Okay, yep. So really getting into your oversoul, Lexi, that's your main thing, your main challenges. Mika, I'm especially challenging the arrow is to show me to take up learning weaponry. Okay. For me, the finances, I'm going to take advantage of a training and just become available and manifesting. Okay, great for Mita. Okay, anyone else? Mika, do you need to do some work on integration healing? Christine's being squeezed everywhere. Okay. Christine's being squeezed everywhere. I love that. I'm sure Sam and Fiona. What about you, Fiona? Is your life perfect? And Steve, I know your life is pretty perfect right now, not being squeezed. Christine, Mike, yep. Absolutely, Christine, that'd be great.
When you asked that question, I looked in all areas of my life and I thought, oh, can't really pick one out, really. But what I have noticed is that when I do pay attention to things and I do collapse on something and it takes me to another level, somehow I get a result. And, you know, it's quite amazing, really. And you talked about having a spiritual power and recognizing it and doing what you need to do. And I will just share what happened this morning while you were talking. So I missed some of the session, but as you know, one of my daughters gets attacked fairly severely occasionally, and I've been learning how to help her. Grace has showed me how to help her, and she had a really severe attack this morning, and I was able to help her shift that, and it's just remarkable. It was just remarkable, and I feel really blessed that I can actually do that, because she actually does the work, but I was actually able to guide her. And so what I'm actually recognising, so in every area of my life where I do something, I'm starting to see changes. So yeah, it's really good. So I'll have to revisit and look at the replay to see what else she had to say today.
Yeah, wow. So yeah, Linda's been getting a bit of a hard time, has she? Or whoever is.
Well, yeah, it was her.
Yeah,
It's the spaces between attacks are getting less, and she's
yeah,
getting stronger. But the thing about it is that it's the guidance from someone else to help her go within
yeah.
to find out how to do that, and it's quite remarkable. I had no idea that I'll be able to do what I can do.
Well, that's the
And
thing. You get stronger, don't you?
yeah, it's remarkable because after that happens, like today, she was able to shift it, and then she was about to go, and I remembered I have to ground her before I can finish with her. I have to ground her, bring her back to the present. It's just remarkable, and she's a different person.
Wow.
And yeah, so I'm very grateful for Grace's assistance in showing me how to do that. But I also really recognise that I had assistance from her friends in higher places as well.
Yeah. No, thank you, Christine. Yeah, absolutely. Wow. Yeah, I agree, Steve. She's definitely stepped up a level, Christine. I can hear it. Wow. Yeah, no,
But
I
I do
agree.
recognise that there's plenty of more work to be done. Absolutely. Can't stop
Yeah,
here.
there is, but you stepped up. I can just feel it in your energy. I'm like, wow, I'm just absorbing it right now. That's nice.
Yeah, I've really felt so much gratitude to all those who've helped me to get to that place.
Yeah. Well, you put the hard work in, haven't you? So
Yeah, it's true. It's true. I acknowledge that. The more you do, the more you see you have to do.
yeah, it's interesting though, because that's what I'm just getting a sense now, a message. It's almost like sometimes it says just to, to allow yourself to be honored and just to feel it and enjoy it, like you give a lot to people, and it's like, in a way, I feel today you're being honored today just for the actions you've taken. So just kind of enjoy it and really just be grateful for it and just feel the energy of gratitude that's coming towards you from everyone for the work you're doing, and just enjoy it. Be grateful and appreciate it, and just accept fully the gratitude that's being sent to you right now.
Well, I actually 100% agree with you there, Warren. Christine, you absolutely deserve to be honoured. We're not elevating you. We're not infatuated with you. We're actually honouring for how much you put work, with your hands. And I know the struggles that you go through, and I know the challenges that you've met the last 2 years. Working intensely together the last 2 years has been such an honour, and seeing you progress in your own life, every area of your life to where you are today, it's so amazing. And it's such a real reward to see your work and the fruition and the fruit that you've created out of your life through yourself, through your children, the legacy that you're building right now. So the way I see is your wealth building is in your family, and you are actually creating that, and the fruit's coming out. So I totally agree with you, Warren. I just want to honour you too, Christine, 100% for what you've done the last 2 years.
Thank you very much, Grace. And I couldn't have done it alone, that's for sure.
And remember, you invented the rag thing. What do you call it? The rag.
The crying rag.
Crying rag.
Crying rag.
We'll put an IP on it, the crying rag.
Oh, I don't think I've cried so much in my entire life as I have in the last 2 years.
Oh, you've got a pool in heaven, Christine. It's wonderful.
At least you cry, Christine. Steve and William just vomit.
That's true.
Yeah, because Steve makes us sick.
Yeah, Steve was making me sick. What are you talking about? What are you talking about, Grace? I'm the one vomiting, not you.
Yeah, I pick it up and then I'll pass it on to you, William.
Yeah, so I'm just your vomit boy.
Yeah, because I don't like vomiting. I hate vomiting.
You think I do?
Happy to be of service.
Oh,
Steve, yeah, Steve, you just need to not make us sick for once.
It's building your spiritual muscles, Will. So I'll keep going.
It certainly is, Steve. Yeah, you've certainly been the best gym partner.
Oh, we have so much fun, don't we?
Yeah, so much fun.
no, he like a good vomit.
Yeah.
I still remember when I did the 27 spiritual gifts test, Grace. I don't know if you remember at Sharon Prosper's where we all did it. And I think there's 27 of them. I think my 26th was missionary work, and my 27th, was any kind of, no, 27 was any kind of missionary work or going in or doing intercession for people and taking on their burdens. That was like my bottom.
Actually, I remember that because we looked at our charts and we looked at each other. What the hell? We're completely the opposite spectrum.
Oh yeah, we were opposite. Like that was like your number 1 and 2, and that was my number 27. I was like, I said, there's no way I'd be a missionary. There's no way I'd vomit for people.
Well, I guess that's why we were attracted to each other, to bring balance into our life in every area of our lives, isn't it? So I reckon you and I are kind of balancing out these days.
Yeah, we're pretty good for each other because we just balance. Like, you're extreme in one thing. Like even in business, I like it. Like I'm naturally very open with everything and you're naturally very private and get annoyed. So we balance perfectly in business because I naturally am open as fuck and you're naturally private as fuck. And between the two of us, you learn to be more open, I learn to be more private.
Yeah, well, I tell everyone I get triggered with Dr. Bill. I still cringe, and that's something I have to constantly collapse, and I'm okay with it. I own that part. And yeah, exactly.
I know.
I have to admit that when I get a private message from Dr. Bill, I think to myself, oh, fancy Dr. Bill's calling me.
Oh, I just seriously, I thought, oh gosh, he's got something under his belt today.
Yeah. Well, yeah, remember, bend over, stay safe, Grace. Get your ass handed.
Do you know the one that's gone really viral in the last day or so? It's like been shared everywhere. Is the one yesterday I read about the nasty flu virus. I just want to talk about that nasty flu virus that's going around. I think people were like, the way I just played it down like that, they were just saying it was so funny.
Yeah, I read up on it. It was pretty good. Well, it does get better and better, but nothing beats the jab crawl.
All I can say is the madness in marketing, it's working, Warren.
It is, though.
Well, I think it's owning your trip. I just think the whole thing's really funny. If I'm really honest about my view on the last 15 months, I just find it really funny. I'm just like, it's like, could you seriously imagine 3 years ago the day would come when people would have their asses tested in China and that you would have things shoved up your nose and people would be taking it and, I mean, then running around with muzzles all over your face. I mean, it'd almost be like a practical joke that you would just kind of have a bet whether you could actually pull it off in a society. That's how I see it. It's like, it's so absurd. I just sit there and piss myself laughing.
Well, I can honestly say, I tell you what, outside of City Awakening with our other companies, it's just absolutely booming and it's crazy and it's madly crazy, but it's a wonderful challenge. And yeah. That Dr. Bill is just awesome.
I know. Well, it's like you said, it's creating your challenges and being happy with them. Like my challenge is managing in systems. So I do that, even though I don't like doing it every day. And I notice I don't really get business challenges as now. And Yeah, it's like, it's so true when you just be truthful to who you really are. Like, I love what Martini was saying, how he said, he talked about that guy who just, that, I don't know if you remember, Grace, but his father was very concerned about his 17-year-old son. And he goes, John, can you help me with him? And he goes, why? And he said, well, he said, I'm trying to get him to focus on school and learn about money, but all he does all day wants to go out clubbing and bang women, you know? And I just, can you help me with him? He goes, yeah, I don't want someone now, but yeah. So he just went and yeah. So basically what he did was he he just basically talked to the boy, and that was the truth. And he said to the boy, well, do you realize that if you focus on school and you get smarter, you'll get more girls? He goes, how's that? He says, well, would you agree that if some girls are attracted to smart guys, some girls are attracted to guys like you? And he goes, yeah. So he goes, if you get more smarter, he said, you can get both ends of the spectrum. You can attract girls who are not only kind of liking to meet in clubs, but you can get the smart girls by helping with their homework. And he goes, oh, that's a great idea. And his dad, about a month later, goes to him, what did you do to him? He's studying for hours and he's just like, takes his school seriously. And he goes, oh, you just don't want to know what I did.
It's true, isn't it? I remember that. That's why with this quantum, it's fantastic. You go micro to macro. You absolutely expand the horizon, and there's no restrictions. What stops us is morality.
So true. Morality is a horror. It really is.
Yeah. Like I'd be open to everyone. I'll call Warren my pimp, because you price me everywhere. So you do all the quotes of my service. So I'll go to Warren, hey Pimpy, can you get a quote for me? Because you're going to send me off to whoever, and he does all the pricing for me.
But I mean, he's also my pimp in the spiritual.
Oh yeah, that's true.
He's most of our pimps.
Yeah, a pimp, exactly. Well, I said yesterday to someone, I said, being a stripper and a prostitute is probably the purest form of sex, because you basically, everyone's up front, there's a clear, fair exchange. Well, I said marriage is generally the most dishonest, because they say, I just love you and want to be with you, but that's not entirely true. I want to get half your assets and I'm building a business partnership with you. That's basically what Martini says marriage is. It's a business partnership.
Yep. Well, as you can see, that we just have fun, don't we? Rule number 6 applies to everything that we do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I think we should go back. We should become a very normal, moral Christian church, Grace. And as of next week, City Awakening will revert to that.
Well, you're about to see your dearest mother, aren't you?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I love my mother with all my heart, and I shall help her very much.
Yeah, and I love your mum. I'm looking forward to the lunch. She's a brilliant cook, I must say.
I know. Oh, well, anyway, thank you, everyone. I think it's been a good day. Just go away and make your shifts. Okay, see you, Fiona. See you, Mark. See you, everyone. And have a really good week until we next see you all. See you, Lexi. See you, Famita.
See you, everyone.